Hello, friends. I hope you have a good and beautiful day today, and that you are satisfied with taking the time to watch my video clips, and that I can create new and useful information and beliefs in you. Today, I want to talk about what mental illness is, and how it arises. What seems a bit unrealistic is that they say that mental illness has a genetic cause or is caused by trauma. But mental illness is a very complex set of behavioral patterns, and it is impossible to be caused by genes or trauma, because there are many details involved. Today I had a client who was suffering from schizophrenia. I was having the same conversation with him before he came to me. One of his acquaintances was talking about the fact that this disease arose in him 5 or 6 years ago. However, he had many behavioral patterns and false beliefs in the past. His family was also severely damaged and had destructive and pathological beliefs. What we found out about this client is that even though schizophrenia is considered one of the most genetic or hereditary diseases, he had his misconceptions before he was diagnosed 5 years ago. What I told him was that if we think the cause of the disease is genetic or trauma, then naturally the patient will never seek treatment for himself, because these things cannot be changed. But if we think the cause of the disease is incorrect and damaging behavioral patterns, the patient will think about correcting these patterns. It is a great injustice to say that mental illness is genetic or caused by brain damage. I told this client, you correct these patterns. If after that the disease is still stable, then we can say that the cause is genetic or caused by brain damage. But the question arises, when we say that mental illness is not genetic or caused by brain damage, then what is it and how does it arise? Why can we classify these diseases and say, for example, that obsession is almost the same everywhere, or that depression is similar in all people? Mental disorders are actually archaic belief patterns of our humans. In the past, when knowledge was less and life was less wise and logical, our ancestors used these patterns to respond, which have changed over time. These archaic patterns arise in situations where a person cannot solve their problem in the short term. When there is a lot of pressure on a person, they turn to these patterns to escape from real fear and to protect their survival or those who are important to them. For example, obsession is a magical behavior and belief with which a person tries to escape from a bitter reality such as death or the loss of something important. Instead of facing that reality for this reason, it can be said that mental disorders, contrary to what people think, are not the main problem, but a kind of ancient and primitive self-medication that the person uses to preserve their own survival or the valuable people around them. How did these ancient patterns arise? When a person is faced with a threat to their own survival or that of their loved ones, they adopt one of them, depending on which patterns they have access to. This access can be from ancient methods that their ancestors used to preserve survival. These similarities make some mistakenly think that mental illnesses are genetic, because their parents or other relatives may have also used the same repetitive patterns or a type of response when faced with a big problem. But what is the treatment? To treat, the person must first face the truth. For example, about death, they must accept that death is an inevitable reality. When this truth is established for the person, he can be guided to make the most of his present time. Accepting this truth reduces anxiety and fear. Or that when you used this method, you had a lot of problems. But now your problems are solved and you no longer need the patterns, or that these patterns are primitive and very damaging, and the harm is greater than using them. In the following, the details of the treatment can be designed specifically for each disorder. As I said, mental illness is caused by destructive behavioral patterns, not genetics or injury. But in general, we must move towards the truth of the client's acceptance of death, because all these diseases occur when the person sees his or her survival, and that of his or her loved ones in danger. This acceptance of the truth must be done calmly and with the use of strong beliefs and strong world views and the creation of broad and great meanings in the individual. And at the same time, life skills and self-care must be taught to the client. In the video clips of the last one, we discuss each mental illness in detail, how these old patterns were created, and the only way to eliminate them is for the client to recognize them and how to work with them so that the client can reach this insight. This is not a suitable method for responding to the problems of the world, and there are better ways and patterns that can be used and create a better and more useful life for himself. Thank you for your attention. I hope this discussion was useful to you. I would be happy to subscribe to my channel, Effective Psychotherapy, and ring the bell to access my latest videos. Finally, as always, I would be happy to have your comments, criticisms, and suggestions, friends. God bless.